The sky was red, not with fire but with dust. The alien dropship screamed through the clouds and slammed into the ground, kicking up a massive wall of dirt. Its engines hissed, cooling fast in the dry air. The doors opened with a sharp hiss, and out came 30 soldiers, tall, armored, and fully armed. They were called the Zod, a proud warrior race. Strong, cold, efficient. They had conquered 10 planets in 10 weeks. This one designation, AR-29, was supposed to be easy, but as soon as they stepped onto the surface, something felt wrong. Captain Verax looked around, scanning the endless dry land. Cracked ground, rocky hills, no trees, no water, no wind, just silence. He tapped his helmet. No signs of life. Atmosphere is oxygen-based, safe to breathe. One by one, the soldiers removed their helmets. They expected relief. Instead, they got a strange pressure in their lungs. Not heavy dash, just dry to dry. Still, they marched forward. Orders were orders. They set up a temporary base, sent drones into the sky, drilled into the ground. Nothing, no water, not even a drop. A few kilometers away, a small figure lay flat on a ridge, watching them through cracked goggles. Lieutenant Rayner, Cole, human, soldier, survivor. She was thin, dirty, her lips were dry, but her eyes were sharp, ice cold. She whispered into her recorder, voice hoarse. "They've landed. Same as the last group. Taking off helmets, breathing our air. They don't know yet." She pulled a thin metal straw from her side pouch and stuck it into a spiky gray cactus. After a few seconds, a small drop of liquid entered her mouth. Not water, but it was something. Rayner had been here 46 days, alone, no contact with Earth. Her team had died in the first week. Cracked suits, dried lungs, brain bleeds. The air had oxygen, but zero humidity. It pulled the moisture from everything. Skin, eyes, blood, and now the aliens were breathing it in. Back at the alien camp, Corporal Zern grunted. "Captain, my throat burns." Verax turned. "We've all been given full hydration before drop. You'll adjust." Zern nodded, but he felt strange. His vision blurred. His tongue felt like paper. He drank from his water pack. Nothing. He opened it. Empty. He tried the backup. Also empty. Panic. He looked around. Others were coughing. Quietly at first, then violently. Soldier Eirik fell to one knee. Blood trickled from his nose. Verax finally noticed. Memetic report. The medic tried to scan the soldiers, but the readings made no sense. Double quote, sir. They're losing fluids fast. Internal bleeding, lungs cracking. This planet hits, pulling water from them. Verax froze. What? The air is dry. But not normal dry. It's like it's stealing moisture. One soldier screamed as his skin split open on his arm. Another collapsed, wheezing. The base broke into chaos, and ran. As she watched it all, night fell. The red sky turned black. Stars above twinkled, cold and distant. Rayner moved through the rocks like a ghost, silent and slow. She wore a custom suit, patched with alien tech and survival gear. Her helmet had been thrown away long ago. Now she wore a breathing mask, made from 2 alien filters and desert plant fibers she had adapted. The aliens had not. As she reached the edge of the alien camp, she saw the bodies, 13 already dead. More were lying on the ground, too weak to stand. Captain Verax was shouting at his engineers, "Find water, drill, scan, do something." Rayner tapped a small screen on her wrist. "Audio capture on," she whispered. "They're cracking, just like the others. This planet eats the careless. Back when Earth first discovered AR-29, it looked perfect. Blue sky, oxygen, habitable temperatures. But no one noticed the warning signs. No clouds, no surface water, no rain ever recorded. Rayner's team landed first, a science unit. They lasted 6 days before symptoms started. Their mistake, breathing the air. It was oxygen, yes, but with zero humidity, not low, 0. It acted like a vacuum, pulling every drop of moisture from inside their bodies. Sweat stopped, urine stopped, tears stopped. Then came the brain damage. Rayner had escaped, barely alive. She modified her gear, found dry plants with trace liquid, and stayed away from open breathing. Now, she was the last human alive on AR-29. And the aliens had walked right into the same trap. Morning came. The sun rose big and white, no clouds to block its heat. Rayner moved closer to the camp. She counted 17 bodies, more lying still. Only Captain Verax and 5 others were upright. Their armor was now coated in a white dust, their own dried sweat. Verax was not stupid. He realized now that the planet was a trap. He looked up at the sky and growled, "This place is cursed." One of his officers, a female with sharp eyes, whispered, "It's not cursed. It's a weapon, Verax turned. A weapon, she nodded. This air, it's a perfect trap. Looks safe, feels safe, but it kills. Slowly, silently, Reyna smiled from behind a rock. Finally, they understood. But it was too late. The alien Cum's tower sparked power failing. Their systems were overheating, their water supplies were gone, their filters clogged. Even their synthetic hydration packs had dried. The planet was stealing it all. Reyna took a breath through her special mask. Inside, a plant fiber membrane released just enough moisture to keep her lungs working. She had built it after her friend's lungs collapsed. She whispered to her recorder again. Verax has 6 left. They'll last another 12 hours max. Then they'll break. Or panic. She paused. Just like the others. 2 days ago, another alien force had landed on the far side of the planet. They lasted 10 hours. Reyna had watched them die. 2. Not because she was cruel, because she had to learn how to survive. She wrote down everything, every reaction, every mistake. This planet didn't forgive anyone. Back at camp, the last engineer collapsed. His lips cracked open, his fingers had turned black from dehydration. Verax now sat alone, watching the sky. He looked at his reflection in a broken screen. His eyes were bloodshot, his skin flaky, but he wasn't angry, he was afraid. He knew someone was watching them. Someone who had survived. Reyna's tracker beeped softly. Verax had activated a beacon, calling all ships. AR-29 is not safe. Do not land, we are dying. The air is ... alive. Then silence. Reyna turned off her recorder. She sat down on the rocks, sipping a drop of cactus juice, and she waited. Because this wasn't over. This was just the beginning, and the galaxy had no idea what kind of world A really was. Or what kind of human had survived it. The distress beacon blinked in the blackness of space. It was weak, flickering, but it pulsed with urgency. A Zarlok recovery ship picked it up as it passed through the edge of the system. The captain of the vessel, Commander Harkle, leaned forward. He narrowed his eyes at the signal code. AR-29 red level signal. Immediate response. The same planet the ground team had gone 2 days ago. The planet that was supposed to be safe. Plot a course. Harkle growled. We're going in. Back on the surface of AR-29, Reyna Cole watched the broken alien camp from a distance. The Zarlok soldiers were gone now. All of them. The last one, Captain Verax, had tried to cover his mouth with layers of torn cloth. He even tried wrapping himself in his tense fabric, hoping to trap moisture. Didn't work. Nothing worked. Not here. Reyna walked among their silent camp now, boots crunching the dry soil. She stepped over cracked armor and shriveled skin, no emotion on her face. She had seen too much already. She crouched by one of the dead, and pulled a water filtration pack from the body. It was useless now, dry as bone. But the frame and housing, she could reuse it. Everything had a second purpose. That's how she'd stayed alive. 3 hours later, she spotted it. A new ship entering orbit. Sleek, bigger than the dropship, heavily armed. Zarlok insignia on the hull. Reyna's breath slowed. They were sending another team. She didn't know how many were on board, but it didn't matter. They were coming, and they didn't know what waited for them below. On board the recovery ship, Commander Harkle addressed his crew. Remember, he said, pacing the bridge, this is a recon and rescue. Find the survivors, extract data. Do not remove helmets unless I say so. He glared at them. The last team ignored the warnings. I will not ignore it. The ship dropped through the atmosphere and hovered above the landing zone. Dust flew in all directions. The soldiers disembarked, armor gleaming under the harsh red sun. They moved slowly, weapons drawn, no wind, no sound, no sound, no sign of life, until they saw the camp. Dozens of Zarlok bodies, dry and stiff. Eyes frozen open, skin cracked like burned paper. The soldiers paused. Commander Harkle clenched his fists. Prepare bioscans, full sweep. Someone did this. From the rocky ridge, Reyna watched them. This group was smarter. They kept their helmets on, they moved in formation. She spotted their leader Harkle, tall, calm, focused. Not like the last group. This one would take more time to break. She pulled back into the rocks, staying hidden. She didn't want to fight, not yet. First she needed to learn who they were, how much water they had, what kind of equipment they brought. She whispered into her recorder again. New team arrived, fully suited, no exposure yet. Watching, waiting. Commander Harkle and his team entered the ruined camp. They saw the bodies, the wreckage, the empty water tanks. No blood, no sign of combat, just dehydration. Terrified them. This wasn't a battle. One of the soldiers muttered. They just died. Harkle found Verax's body still sitting, eyes hollow, skin brittle. Next to him, the beacon unit was half buried in dust. Harkle picked it up and played the final recording. The air is alive, static. Rayna's voice cutting in suddenly, unintentionally. They'll break. Just like the others. The soldiers froze. Harkle stared at the device. That wasn't Zarlok, he said quietly. That was human. The team looked around. Panic growing. Harkle growled. We're not alone. Far above, in orbit, the Zarlok ship relayed a silent signal back to their command fleet. Unknown, human presence detected, planet unsafe awaiting, ORDIS, but no reply came, and Rayna was already moving. That night, a guard from the new team heard something behind the rocks. He turned, flashlight scanning left and right. Hello, he called in Zarlok's silence. He stepped forward, past the edge of the base. Suddenly, a net wrapped around him tight and fast. Rayna dropped down from the ridge, mask over her face, knife in hand. Don't scream, she said softly in English. The alien didn't understand. He struggled, but she hit the nerve cluster on his neck. He went limp. She searched his gear, found a new breathing filter, a full water pack. Jackpot. She tied him up and left him behind a boulder, unharmed but out cold. Then she vanished back into the night. Morning, the Zarlok team found the guard, still alive but missing gear. Commander Harkle's face twisted in rage. She's toying with us, he spat. A human survivor, using our tech, watching us. He ordered drones into the sky. Search mode. He wasn't going to wait for her to strike again. Rayna knew they'd find her trail eventually, so she gave them something to follow. She left signs tracks that led into an old cave system, half buried in dust. They'd think it was her hideout. It wasn't, it was a trap. Inside the caves, air pressure shifted dangerously. The deeper you went, the drier it became. Rayna had tested it weeks ago. She called it the bone tunnel. Anything that breathed inside for too long wouldn't breathe again. Thus the Zarlok soldiers entered the cave. Rayna watched from the ridge, her mask hissing softly. She whispered, "Let's see if helmets save you." One soldier removed his helmet just for a second. That it was enough. He collapsed minutes later. By the time they pulled him out, his eyes were bleeding. Commander Harkle now knew the truth. This planet, he growled, is a death trap, engineered or natural. It doesn't matter. He looked into the dust-filled wind. She's not surviving by luck. A pause. She's hunting. The first time they saw her, they almost shot her. Rayna Cole walked into the Zarlok camp just after dawn, like a shadow stepping out of the red dust. Slow, calm, alone, helmet on, mask sealed, knife at her hip. The remaining 6 Zarlok soldiers scrambled to their feet, raising their weapons. She raised one hand slowly. "You shoot," she said coldly. "You die." Even through her filter, her voice cut like steel. Commander Harkle stepped forward, hand raised to stop his troops. "No one fires." He looked into her eyes, what little he could see through the visor. She looked like a ghost, thin, dust-covered, scars on her neck, a survivor molded by a world that killed everything else. "Rayna Cole?" he asked. She didn't answer. She just walked past him and knelt beside their fire pit. She held out her hand. "Water first." Harkle hesitated, then tossed her a fresh pack. She caught it without flinching. He watched her as she connected it to her system, and took a long breath. She didn't gulp, she didn't relax. She was still ready to fight, even while drinking. They sat in silence around her, 5 alien soldiers, 1 human. An odd circle of dust, fear, and tension. Rayna finally broke the silence. "Who's in charge of your ship's systems?" Koresh raised a hand. "I manage power and signal relay." "Then you're who I talk to," she said. She pulled a rolled-up cloth from her pack and spread it on the ground maps notes. "Readings, all of this," she said, "is everything I've learned about this planet's dry zones, wind tunnels, and vapor pockets." Koresh leaned in, impressed. "This could save lives," Rayna interrupted. "It will, if you listen." She pointed to a location marked with a red circle. "This ridge holds wind-blasted plants that suck the last moisture out of the air. You pitched your camp next to them." The group stiffened. Harkle swore under his breath. She pointed to another mark. "This canyon collects early morning vapor. 5 minutes of breathable air if you know when to go." Harkle studied her. "Why?" "Help us," Rayna looked him dead in the eyes. "I'm not helping you." She tapped the map again. "I'm helping me get off this rock." They spent the rest of the day repairing filters, rerouting solar panels, and shielding their tents using her instructions. Rayna said little. She never removed her helmet, never took her eyes off their hands. She didn't trust them, not yet, maybe never. That night, they gave her a bedroll inside one of the clean tents. She didn't use it. She sat outside, back against a rock, knife resting on her knee. She watched the stars, the same ones she'd stared at for 53 days. wondering if anyone would ever find her now. There was a chance she could survive this. She could leave. Then it went wrong. At 2:37 a.m., Rayna woke up, not from a noise but from the silence. Too quiet. No air movement. No soft hum from the Zarlok generator. Something had stopped. She stood, low and tense, and moved toward the main tent. And then she heard it, a faint click. She froze. Behind her. Movement. She turned just in time to see Crash holding a shock baton. Rayna ducked the swing, kicked his knee, and drew her knife. "I knew I'd," she shouted. Karesh stumbled back, bleeding. "I wasn't going to kill you," he yelled. "Just stun you." "For what?" she barked. "To take your map, your mask tech. You're too dangerous." The entire camp was awake now. Rayna backed up fast, blade out. Commander Harkle pushed through the crowd. "Koresh, stand down, he's a coward," Rayna snarled. "He waited until I slept." Harkle growled and slammed Koresh to the ground. "You just killed our only chance." Rayna looked at them, all disgust in her voice. "You never wanted a deal." Harkle stepped closer. "I did." "He didn't speak for me." Rayna didn't move, didn't blink, but in that moment, something in her eyes changed. A part of her was gone now. Whatever trust she might have had, burned to ash. She walked out of their camp without another word. No one dared follow her. But the damage was done. Rayna was gone, and the dry wind was rising again. Rayna moved through the jagged rocks like a ghost, faster than before, but colder too. She didn't look back, didn't care if the Zarloks followed. She had given them her knowledge, her trust, her silence, and they broke it. So now she was done playing fair. The sky over AR-29 was shifting. Not clouds, there weren't any left. It was the dust layer, high above, turning blood red in the morning light. Rayna had seen this before. A storm was coming. Not wind, not rain, a dry storm. A monstrous blast of static charged sand and ash that stripped paint off metal and skin off bone. The planet was angry again, and it didn't care who lived or died. Back in the alien camp, Commander Harkle stared at the wind. Readings on their console, the meter was pinned. Pressure drop, electrostatic spikes, dust mass over 300 tons per square click. The tech said. Officer Koresh, with a bandaged face and bruised ego, muttered, "She brought this." Harkle glared at him. Double quotes. "No, the planet did. But she's the only one who knows how to survive it. Then we need her back. She won't come, then we die." Rayna didn't hide. She stood atop an old mesa, arms crossed, watching the storm come in like a rising wall. The wind howled. The air thinned. The heat dropped. Sharply. Tried her hood tight and dug into her cave bunker. It was just deep enough, wide enough for one person. She'd built it weeks ago, just in case. A storm like this would last 12 hours. It would kill anything that moved. She had food, oxygen, power. She was ready, but something gnawed at her. Not fear, not guilt, just a whisper in the back of her mind. They won't make it. Even Harkle, even the ones who didn't betray her. They had no shelter deep enough. No gear strong enough. She remembered the Zarlok medic, the young one, who gave her protein paste without speaking. She remembered the technician who fixed her battery cell with trembling hands, never asking for thanks. Not all of them were Koresh. Some had just followed orders, and some just wanted to go home. Rayna growled under her breath. She hated this feeling, hated it more than thirst, more than the dust, but she knew what it meant. She threw open her pack, yanked out the emergency flare gun she'd stolen, and fired it, high into the air. One red streak, then a second, then a third, north, west, south. It wasn't a signal of peace, it was a map, the route to her cave. If they could move fast, they had a chance. If they didn't, well, she gave them one. Harkle saw the flares. He didn't question them. He grabbed 3 surviving soldiers and barked, "Move, now." Koresh was too injured to follow. Fine. Let him stay. Harkle had chosen wrong before. He wouldn't make the same mistake again. The storm hit. An hour later, it was like being inside a sandblaster made of broken glass. Harkle's team followed the flares through pain and grit and cracked visors. They ran low on power. One soldier collapsed and had to be dragged. Then they saw it. A slit in the rocks. Rayna's cave, lit from within by flickering blue light. Rayna stood at the mouth, arms folded, watching them collapse inside, coughing and bleeding. She didn't speak. She just sealed the door shut and engaged the airlock. Inside, the heat was steady. The filters ran smooth. No one talked. They just breathed. Alive. Barely. Harkle turned to her, eyes sunken. "Why?" She didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, "Because I survived. But not by letting good people die. They sat in silence as the storm screamed outside. The planet roared, but inside that little bunker they lived, and Rayna. She stared at her old battered map, then at the Zarlok's transmitter, and finally at the stars above. Just a faint glow through the rock cracks. One more storm survived, one more step closer to escape. But she knew this wasn't the last fight. The storm passed. 12 hours of screaming wind, biting dust, and planet-shaking fury. When silence returned to AR-29, it was almost worse than the storm. Still dry, heavy with tension, Rayna opened the cave's outer hatch slowly, blinking against the sunlight. The world outside was covered in a new layer of red ash. Even the bones of old wrecks were gone, buried again. She stood at the edge, staring at the lifeless landscape. Behind her, the Zarlok survivors stirred. For remained. Commander Harkle, 2 soldiers, and the medic with the cracked visor. Rayna didn't speak. She was thinking, calculating, because now it was time. Time to leave. Back inside, she powered up the Zarlok's signal relay, the one salvaged from their wrecked drone. It was still functional. This frequency will bounce to your ship in orbit, she said. Harkle nodded slowly. And they'll come. They'll send a retrieval pod. Small, fast, maybe 2 seats. Rayna glanced at them. I'm taking one. Number 1 argued. She'd earned it. But then, something shifted. Koresh stepped out of the shadows. No one had noticed him come in, one eye swollen shut, arm in a sling, but the smirk on his face was still intact. You're not leaving, he said, raising a plasma pistol. Rayna didn't flinch. Harkle shouted, Koresh, what are you doing? Fixing everything. She's a human, a death dweller. She killed our teams. She's a threat. Rayna's voice was calm, cold. You tried to stun me once. Didn't work then either. Koresh sneered. I don't need to stun you this time. He fired. Everything moved fast. Rayna ducked, rolled, drew her knife. The blast scorched the wall. Harkle tackled Koresh, shouting in rage. But Koresh was ready. He elbowed the commander aside and fired again, this time straight at Rayna. She twisted. The shot clipped her shoulder. She stumbled. Karesh raised the weapon, gangrening now. But the medic stepped forward and fired his own pistol. One clean shot. Koresh fell face first into the ash. Smoke rising from his back. Dead silence. Rayna sat down slowly, pressing her hand to the burn wound. She didn't cry out. She just breathed shallow, steady. The medic knelt beside her and applied burn gel without saying a word. Harkle stood over Koresh's body. I should have seen it coming. Rayna nodded. I did. He looked at Ben. Why let him live? She didn't answer. Instead, she leaned back and stared at the relay's blinking light. A new tone echoed through the chamber. Incoming signal. The retrieval pod was coming. Hours later, it descended like a silver tear from the sky, fast, sleek, deadly. It landed 2 clicks from their position. Rayna walked ahead, limping slightly but refusing help. The others followed at a distance. The pod hissed. Open. 2 seats. Exactly as predicted. Rayna stepped up, then stopped, turned around. Only room for 1 more, she said. Pick. Harkle looked at his 2 remaining soldiers. One was wounded badly, the other barely standing. He sighed, turned to the wounded one, and nodded. You go. The soldier climbed in without a word, eyes wide with disbelief. Rayna strapped in. The hatch sealed, and for the first time in 55 days, she saw the sky from inside a working spacecraft. Her eyes stung, but not from dust. The pod rose fast, straight up. Breaking atmosphere. Breaking gravity. Breaking the curse of the planet that killed everything, almost everything, inside the pod. Rayna leaned her head back. The stars greeted her. She had survived the planet, survived betrayal, and now, she was coming home. But deep down she knew this wasn't over, because the galaxy didn't know what a R-29 really was. But she did, and she was the only one who could warn them. The retrieval pod broke through the blackness of space like a bullet. Escaping hell. Rayna sat still. Her shoulder burned from the plasma wound. Her throat ached from recycled air. Her body was weak, but her mind, sharper than ever. She had one goal now. Send a message. Warn Earth. Not just about the planet, but about what the Zarlok Empire had really done. Hours later, the pod docked inside the Zarlok orbital station. Cold lights, alien steel, eyes that didn't blink. Rayna didn't wait to be greeted. She grabbed the handheld from the wall and broadcast to every channel she could hack. This is Rayna Cole, human, survivor of a R-29. You think it was just a hostile world? No, it was a test site, a trap. Zarlok scientists engineered it to kill life slowly, to study it. They sent us there, lied about it. I lived. Others died. I'm coming home, and I'm bringing the truth. Then she punched the data chip into the transmitter, everything she recorded: storm cycles, Zarlok plans, betrayal logs, and Koresh's last threats uploaded directly to Earth Command. There would be no cover -up. No more silence. Back on Earth, the message exploded across every screen in Command HQ. Admiral Soraya stood frozen as Reyna's face lit up the main display. Scarred, dirty, eyes blazing with fury. A soldier, a survivor, a warning. She looked at the footage, the research files, the Zarlok signatures, and then she turned to her fleet commanders. "Ready the long-range fleet," she said. "All of it." The next 2 weeks moved like a storm. Earth's engineers rebuilt Reyna's file. The diplomatic corps demanded answers from the Zarlok Empire. The aliens denied everything, but it was too late. The galaxy had seen the evidence, and humanity. They didn't forgive betrayal. Reyna arrived on Earth in a military cruiser, escorted like a hero. Crowds waited, not cheering, silent, honoring the only human who came back from the dead. She walked down the ramp in a sealed suit, shoulder patched, eyes hidden behind a visor. Reporters screamed questions. She didn't answer. Only one message mattered now. She met Admiral Soraya behind closed doors and placed a new chip on the table. "This isn't just about one planet," Reyna said. "They've done it before. Dozens of sites, dozens of species." Soraya nodded. "We believe you." Reyna looked up. Her voice was quiet but solid like steel. "Then don't just believe me. Stop them." A month later, the skies above Earth turned silver. The Titan-class warfleet left orbit. 50 ships, silent and deadly. Their heading Zarlok Prime. Reyna stood aboard the flagship, now wearing a new uniform, dark, marked with the survivor's crest. Not just a soldier, now an advisor, a symbol. The fleet moved through slipspace like knives through water. No warnings. No more words. Just one message burned across every channel in the stars. "You sent us to die. Now we bring the fire." The war that followed would change the galaxy forever. But Reyna Cole's name, it became legend. The human who survived the dead planet. The one who breathed the air no one could. Who used dust, wind, and silence to outlive an empire. And when the galaxy asked, what made humans different, the answer was simple: we survived what no one else could. And then we came back.